All right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. 3 reviews up this week, but before we get to that, it's iWatch 2025.
One of these days, I'm gonna get the fucking music.
I don't want to have this segment be regular enough where it needs music. Thank you
Fair.
very much. I'm sure you don't want that either.
I haven't been wanting it for the
Since
past
it's
month, bro.
I know. But let me inform the people, because I bring good tidings. We are almost done with this particular problem, at least in regards to Petty's Eye affecting the show.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure exactly when complete light sensitivity ends, but the good news is he can stare at his computer screen for long periods of time without wishing for death.
Without self-maceration?
Something like that. The point is, that means we should be back to normal next week.
Yes.
It also means that week of reviews that still has to be edited and put up on YouTube should be coming in the next few days as well.
Yeah, I will let you know when they're up on the Google Drive.
And indeed, I guess as sort of a final test of this, the third game tonight will attempt to have footage, since it was a free download, and also it's pretty dark. But we'll get to that one when we get to that one. Up first is Silver Bullet. Silver Bullet is a gothic arcade shooter. Blast your way through spooky stages and macabre mini-games as Van Helsing to rescue your pet puppies who were dognapped by Reggie the Vampire.
I don't remember that being part of Dracula the novel.
In fairness, we're not talking about Dracula, we're talking about Reggie.
Right, but Van Helsing is from Dracula the novel.
I know, but
okay. Also, a whole bunch of people whose family heritage comes from Helsinki, but
yeah, it's Avon Helsing.
Also, when did Van Helsing turn into John Wick at some point?
After people read the Cliff Notes of Dracula the novel instead of reading the actual novel.
I'm like, this feels like a weird thing to debate, since
it would be sometime in the movies, probably.
Since once again, apparently we're fighting Dracula.
The purpose of my interjection here is mostly to point out that Van Helsing is an actual character with an actual history, and that sometimes referencing that that far removed from its original context is a little weird.
I guess, but if it bothers you that much, remember Van Helsing is his surname. So it could be his second cousin who's doing the...
or a lot of other people from Helsinki, yes.
Yes. So, and once again, he's not fighting Dracula, he's fighting Reggie. We have a vampire who's fucking named Reggie here. Yes. So, putting the plot details aside, this is another classic arcade game that is published by our friends over at Flynn's Arcade. Been a while since I've covered one of these, mainly because this is the first Steam joint we've had in a good long while. But anyway, so this is actually quite the confused pile of classic influences.
Because is the typical with Flynn's Arcade, for better or for worse.
Because the general ethos here is to invoke the feelings and the gameplay, the vibe, if you will, of the golden age of arcades. The thing is, the golden age of arcades is actually a specific time. That's like arcades from like 1977 or so to like 1982. Like, and this is all arcade influence that's from the late 80s to early 90s. Indeed,
once they started to be able to have significantly better than 8-bit graphics, but before they really changed the gameplay styles.
Right. Indeed, you might be looking at this game, and it's not really invoking, like, it kind of looks like an arcade game from 1982, but not really, because honestly, there's too much background detail.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of gives away where the dartboard actually is, because this game bills itself in line with something called Cabal shooters. And if you don't know what Cabal is, another game is cited, Wild Guns, or Wild Guns Reloaded for its modern reincarnation. And that is, you haven't played either game. It's where it's kind of a fusion between a light gun game and a third-person shooter. That is to say, like, you're aiming into the background, but instead of a light gun, you have an avatar on screen. That is an actual
that does an aimable thing.
Yes. You have an actual avatar, in this case, Van Helsing, and his trusty dog, Silver Bullet. That's where the name comes from.
But I thought you were trying to rescue the dogs.
You are, but you have your main dog with you.
Okay, so you're trying to you have one dog and you're trying to rescue other dogs.
Yes. See, if we had the game footage, you would see the opening cinematic where a fucking vampire bat has a bone or like a pile of meat, something like that, and lures all the other dogs away.
I see.
Them. Anyway, the point of order here is, you have a character who has a weapon, who aims into the background, and with the crosshair. So it's kind of an in-between between a light gun game, gallery shooter, and a third-person shooter. It's a style that you didn't see all that often, but it usually was a memorable experience when you did. That being said, this kind of fusion has some quirks to it, especially in this game, because I'm trying to remember if Wild Guns or Cabal did the, like, okay, you have objects, from far away that are coming in to kill you, but later on you also have things coming in from the side that are trying to kill you. Also worth noting that in order to when you shoot, you don't move, but you can move when you don't shoot. That's kind of an intrinsically important mechanic to the game. Because sometimes, like on the haunted house level, especially when you get to the witches with the cauldron, screens filled with projectiles. Destructible, sure, but they may be able to get you. So you got to determine whether or not you want to blow up the bubbles, or if you want to use your dash in order to get out of harm's way. But with the consequence of not being able to shoot. And that has a few knock-on effects. The first of which is, because this is an arcade game, score is here. It's not particularly important, at least in terms of the gameplay, but ultimately, score is at least theoretically an important thing. And in case you're wondering, yes, this game does have leaderboards. It's been a long time since I've had to clarify whether or not leaderboards are important.
But are they using Steam online leaderboards, or is it just like local account leaderboards?
Literally Steam leaderboards.
All right.
Yeah. Also, if you are playing this game on the PC, play it with a keyboard and mouse. Like, first, having analog control over your movement is not important because all you're doing is moving from side to side. So, honestly, having an analog control on a side view game tends to be bad in the first place. But more importantly, accuracy is so much better with a mouse than with a stick.
And also since you can't use your analog second stick to run and gun, basically.
Yes.
It would defeat the purpose of trying to use a controller.
Yeah. I mean, if you're playing on the Switch, well, it's Joy-Cons or Pro Controller. I don't envy either option in this case.
I mean, technically you can connect a mouse and keyboard to the Switch if you're a masochist, and the game will let it work.
Yeah. I'm like, but we didn't get the Switch version, so no idea if it does there. Anyway, so your basic level is to shoot to the end, and the end has a boss. Once again, we are drawing from late 80s, early 90s arcades because, going back to the golden age of arcades, boss monsters, boss creatures, boss ships, a boss enemy, that was just getting invented in the latter part of the golden age. One of the formative boss monsters is the end ship in Xevious. Whereas here, it's, it comes from a time where that was much the standard. Also, this game has, I hesitate to use the term roguelike, because it doesn't actually have that, because there's no permanent upgrades. But it has a coin system. That's the big reason to calculate risk versus reward. Not so much the score, but the coins. Because the coins give you upgrades at the store. And once again, that's a mechanic that was seen in arcade games by the 90s. In fact, there's one infamous case that's kind of beyond the pale of this review. But like I said, this game is doing about all the things that you would expect from a late 80s to especially early 90s arcade game. If I had to place this game in an actual arcade, back when those were still the main driver of the video game industry, I'd say this is an arcade game that would have come out in, say, 1992, 1993, around there. Maybe a bit sooner, but generally that's the time frame I'm speaking about. I do feel like this is important, because it depends. People who are looking for, a very simple arcade experience, you might find it here, but this is actually a more sophisticated arcade experience than we've seen from other Flynn's arcade published titles. That's neither good nor bad. That just is. It's one of those subjective things that's kind of up to the viewer. If I'm being honest. Anyway, so this game does also introduce gimmick stages, for lack of a better term, in order to break things up. That is to say, not every game is a walk and shoot. There didn't seem to be any bonus levels in the traditional sense, like, you shoot a thing and it opens up a thing, that kind of deal. It's got differential levels that they maybe sometimes call bonus stages, to break things up. Like there's the drag race levels, where instead of shooting everything that's on screen, you have to keep these two drag racers and a biplane, from snatching dogs. And you are rewarded on your performance. And later on, there's a game of Bombtris. Or rather, I can't believe it's not Bombtris. I.e., there's falling blocks, they're vaguely Tetris-shaped, and they've got bombs in them. That kind of deal. And I would definitely say it helps to keep this game from being monotonous. Anyway, so that's the makeup of the game. In terms of its execution, yeah, it's really good. It sets out to do what it accomplishes, and it does so with great aplomb. It's nothing fancy, and honestly, I wouldn't put it above Wild Guns. I'd certainly put it above Cabal. It's been a long, long time since I played Cabal, but I remember, it kind of just being a shooting game, whereas Wild Guns was doing quite a bit more. Anyway, so in terms of pricing, this game clocks in at a nice $7. Do I think it's worth $7? Absolutely. In fact, this game probably could have gotten away with the full 10. And it's one of the better games I've played this year. I think that's about all I have. It's just a good, solid hand of a game. Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
Nope.
All right, then. So that'll about do it for this game. Be sure to tune in after the break as Golics reviews Dead Wire.